lakes of the Ohio River in Cincinnati. It's 31 degrees, and it's been 31 years since the Bengals' last playoff win. That wait can end today as the NFL playoffs begin.
In this game, the bigger the opportunity, the better the story can become. And every year, for every team that reaches this point, the greatest opportunity that exists in this sport stands before them.
We are not done. The standard is a Super Bowl.
It all starts here with a franchise that hasn't won a postseason game in 31 years. Just 2 years ago, they were 2-14.
Let's put it in my hands. It's over.
What a throw by Joe Burrow.
That was a dime right there.
But that was before their swagger, their sizzle, and their skills changed everything.
Ricky out of here. Y'all know what time it is.
How great is Jamar Chase?
Proof how quickly youth can fuel belief and how much belief can feed possibility. Their season appeared to be in tatters, drowning in chaos and controversy. But riding a series of wild finishes,
Put it in the W column, baby.
Vegas bucked the odds and turned it all around.
We going, baby.
Now, here's their opportunity to keep such a remarkable story going.
Jackpot, baby. Let's go to Cincinnati.
It's 4 weeks of what might just be the greatest tournament in sports. 14 teams set to script tales worthy of a Hollywood ending. The NFL playoffs start now. Nothing bigger, nothing better.
In Paul Brown Stadium, what they call the jungle in Cincinnati, and they are going wild in here. Bengal fans hope this is the day that 3-decade wait comes to an end. As the new face of the franchise, Joe Burrow makes his playoff debut. And the same is true for Derek Carr of the Las Vegas Raiders in this AFC wildcard game. Good afternoon, everyone. Mike Tirico, the road to Super Bowl 56 on NBC in Los Angeles starts here in Cincinnati, and somebody's going to end a long playoff winless drought today. We told you the Bengals, it's been 31 years, but they went worst to first in the AFC North, and they've got the young passing combo of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. For the Raiders, this year's Raiders may have seen more adversity than any team in league history, but they built some mettle. They won 6 games on the final play, including last Sunday night. They're trying to win a playoff game for the first time in 19 years. Drew Brees played 18 playoff games, MVP of Super Bowl 44, and birthday boy, welcome to the booth for the playoffs.
Thank you.
All right, these fans are so into this Bengals team. So have you been watching all season. Do they have what it takes? Why is it so real in Cincinnati right now?
Well, first of all, they deserve to be here. You know, this AFC North division has been dominated by the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens for the last couple of years. But the Cincinnati Bengals beat them both twice this year to win this division. And they've got this confident young quarterback in Joe Burrow that has everyone believing.
Well, the Raiders believe in themselves. What do they need to pull a road upset here today?
Well, one name for you, Josh Jacobs. They need to give him the ball as much as possible today. He's a guy that continues to get stronger as the games goes on, establish the line of scrimmage, try to shorten this game, but he needs to carry the ball between 25 and 30 times today, and then rely on Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow to work the middle of the field. That's where your matchups are going to be.
These teams met in Week 11. The Bengals won that one. That was in Vegas, but the stakes are a lot higher in Cincinnati today. It's Cincinnati against a team from Sin City. Winner moves on to the Final 8. The NFL playoffs begin next here on NBC.
NBC Sports, home of Super Bowl 56, welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Back here on this great day in Cincinnati for the third all-time playoff meeting between these franchises. The Bengals have never won a postseason game here in Paul Brown Stadium. Catherine Tappan, just part of the history they are trying to change here today.
Yeah, Mike, just how long has this Bengals playoff drought been? Well, the last time they won in the postseason, Seinfeld was on your TV. Cell phones looked like bricks, and text messaging didn't even exist. And in fact, only 4 active Bengals players were alive the last time this team won a playoff game 31 years ago. Now, Joe Burrow told me this team hasn't even talked about that this week. This is a new team, a new group of guys. But Bengals veteran tight end C.J. Uzomah acknowledged a win would be huge for the city. But for us, it would be another step closer to where we want to be, Super Bowl champs. And head coach Zach Taylor told us the narrative outside the building is that the fans feel the pressure, not the guys in that locker room. We embrace the history of the franchise, but this team has a lot of confidence. And he added, this Bengals team, there is a different feel in meetings and practice. This is a special group, Mike.
Both sides have that feel that it's something special, but this city is so behind what they feel is the end to a generation-plus long negative playoff run. And the running back on the last playoff winner in Cincinnati, Ickey Woods, here to fire up the fans. He's still got one shuffle left in him. First playoff game as head coaches for the two guys going head-to-head today. 38-year-old Zach Taylor on the right, 61-year-old Rich Bisaccia on the left. Bisaccia replaced John Gruden in Week 6 and went 7-5 to get the Raiders to the playoffs. Bengals won the toss, deferred the option to the second half. So Evan McPherson, really solid rookie kicker, is going to kick it away for the Bengals. Tyron Johnson is back deep to receive for the Raiders. It's the longest year in NFL history, but here we are at the games that matter most. 14 teams alive, 13 games ahead. One team gets its hands on the Lombardi Trophy. NBC's Wild Card Playoff is brought to you by Mercedes EQ and the all-new, all-electric EQS. By Michelob Ultra, enjoy responsibly. By Royal Caribbean, rise to the vacation. Come seek. And by Microsoft Surface. Celebrations post-game for the Raiders and the Bengals. That cigar with Joe Burrow has become a little bit of a trademark here for Joe Burrow. Stetson Bennett in Alabama winning the national championship followed along. He had it in his mouth on the field of the championship game in college right after it ended.
He set a trend.
Exactly. For the Raiders, Joe Mixon, 3rd in yards, 3rd in attempts, 16 touchdowns this year. Tied for 4th in the league. He'll go to the Pro Bowl for a first time. And you mentioned the game with the Raiders and the Bengals in Week 11. He had a huge game in that one, 123 yards. The Raiders took away the passing attack, and they had to turn to Mixon, and they got the job done in the desert. So miss NBC's new workplace comedy, American Auto, from the creators of Superstar. That's American Auto, Tuesday on NBC, and the next day on Peacock. We had that on in the house earlier this week, preparing for the game. Some good laughs. Check it out on Tuesday night. Talking about this defense and the free agents that were signed to bring in to change the culture here. Look at this. It's Hendrickson, Ogunjobi from Cleveland, Wuzier from Dallas, Hilton from Pittsburgh. Winning organizations.
Yeah, winning organization. Guys who are used to winning, guys who are used to going to the playoffs. And especially up front, what this has done from a pass rush perspective on that left side. Trey Hendrickson and Ogunjobi have been huge additions up front.
All right. Tune in on February 13th for the biggest moment of the year, the Pepsi Super Bowl 56 halftime show featuring Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar at SoFi in Los Angeles. Second quarter is set to begin. Our aerial coverage brought to you by Geico. Mike Tirico, Drew Brees, Catherine Tappan with you from Cincinnati as the playoffs begin.
He reminds me so much with the ball in his hands of Deebo Samuel. And these are all the things that you see San Francisco doing with Deebo Samuel. They're almost built like their lower body like running backs. And you see what they do when they have the ball in their hands, yards after the catch. In fact, those two guys were tops in the league.
After 5 seasons, 4 Emmy wins, TV's #1 drama, returning for one final chapter. This is Us. New Tuesdays on NBC. Get the tissues ready, right? A great show that's been. Well, the game's been up and down. So is the season for Rich Bisaccia and the entire Raider organization. I think you know the story, but go back. They were a first-place team at the end of September. 3-0 to start finishes with Baltimore. Changes, the turmoil. John Gruden out as coach. The average margin of defeat was 17. They were 3-7. But what fortitude coming back the last 4 here. All chips are pushed in. The Raiders cashed. Getting closer, 2.5 weeks away to the Winter Olympics here on NBC. All the big stars. Michaela Schifrin, Nathan Chen, Chloe Kim, Shaun White, the U.S. women's hockey team all try to win gold in Beijing. We'll have it all for you on NBC and Peacock. Catherine Tappan.
And there you see Joe Burrow. Well, he was raised in nearby Athens, Ohio. The small town is about a 2.5-hour drive east of Cincinnati, and it's nearly equidistant to Cleveland and Pittsburgh. So NFL fandom is split. But Joe's father, Jimmy, told me there's a lot of long-standing Steelers and Browns fans in Athens, but they've turned and they cheer for Joe. You see a lot more Bengals flags, especially in our neighborhood. Now, there are a few watch parties in Athens tonight, but Burrow's family is right here at Paul Brown Stadium, Mike.
His dad was a coach. He'd explained some of the great cerebral qualities he has. So he was Mr. Football in the state of Ohio in 2014. And then 7 years later, they named the stadium after him. Joe Burrow Stadium. Look, if you win the Heisman, nobody's going to top it. They may equal it. Nobody's going to top it. So we'll give you the stadium when you're in your 20s.
Hey, well deserved.
Moving for this Cincinnati offense. Burrow's last 2 games out of this world. Second to Dak Prescott in NFL history for the most passing yards in back-to-back games. 525 against Baltimore. That Baltimore team was playing a lot of replacements in the secondary. But then 446 in the gotta-have-it game against Kansas City that won them the division. 8 touchdowns, no picks. And he's picked up pretty close to that so far here in the wild card game.
Coming up on the Toyota Halftime, Maria, Coach, and Chris.
Joe Burrow looking like Joe Cool in his first playoff game.
And Raiders trying to block a defensive end with a tight end.
All right, we'll keep it cool. Back to you, Mike.
All right, guys, thank you. That key play led to Burrow's NBC wildcard playoff game is brought to you by U.S. Bank. We'll get there together. By the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 5G and Z Flip 3 5G. And by Hyundai. And in this town, when you're somebody at Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse, they name a steak after you. That one's after Joe Burrow on the right.
Well, you got to watch out for those pinchers right there. Those will get you. But yeah, I'm going for the crawfish there.
A little Cajun feel on the right. The one on the left, by the way, is Steak Collinsworth, named after our pal Chris Collinsworth, another one of the Bengals legends. Burrow and the Bengals back on the field when the second half begins. At the break here in the wild card game, Cincinnati trying to win a playoff game for the first time in 31 years. Leads Las Vegas 20-13. To Maria Taylor, Chris Sims, and the Hall of Famer Tony Dungy with the Toyota halftime. Maria.
All right, thanks, Mike. And we had a one-score game in Cincinnati, but that 80-yard scoring drive by the Raiders could not have come at a better time, Coach.
They needed it. They'd been settling for field goals. We said you're not going to win with field goals. Finally finished off a drive.
Yeah, that was big. Bengals showing great creativity on both sides of the ball, especially on the offense, and really taking away the pass rushers of the Raiders, which we know can be difference makers.
Yeah, the Bengals scoring on their first 4 possessions. But coming up, we'll break down Joe Burrow's performance in his first ever postseason, and we're going to look ahead to the second half on the Toyota halftime.
Want more stats? Hey Siri, who leads the league in passing yards? Today's first half highlights are brought to you by Chevrolet.
14 teams alive, 13 games ahead. One team gets its hands on the Lombardi Trophy. Off we go. Burrow with the quick strike. C.J. Uzama gives you a Nicky shuffle. Hit from behind. The ball is loose. It's picked up by Ogunjobi. Back shoulder. Comes down with it. Big opening there. And Jacobs into the secondary. Throws it back in the end zone. Touchdown. Zay Jones comes down with it for a touchdown.
Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Good plays, a little controversy. Welcome to the playoffs. Cincinnati leading Las Vegas 20-13. Joe Burrow with 146. He had 148 in the game out in the desert in week 11 that the Bengals won. Derek Carr on the 1s and 2s, 12 of 21 for $121 in his playoff debut. Jamar Chase, 6 touches, all move the chains. 87 yards for the rookie. And the Bengals trying to end that long drought, which is 8 games of the playoff loss. They've led in 7 of them, including that game in here in the 2015 playoffs against Pittsburgh. They had a lead late. So each team scored 10 in the second quarter, and now Derek Carr will wait and watch, see if his Raiders defense can stop Joe Burrow. The 4 full drives, if you exclude the drive at the end where they took a knee, the Bengals have scored. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown. This is the 4-5 game in the AFC, so we're going to have to wait for that Buffalo-New England game coming up later tonight, and then the game on Sunday night with Al, Chris, and Michelle with Kansas City and Pittsburgh to get a sense of who the winner will advance to play in the divisional playoffs next weekend. Down to Catherine Tappan.
Well, Mike, Zach Taylor had a very calm demeanor at halftime, and he said his priorities for the second half are to win those turnover battles and finish the touchdowns in the red zone, not settle for field goals. I asked Rich Bisaccia if he thought that play was called dead before the Bengals' Tyler Boyd caught the touchdown pass. He said, we got to move past that. Next question. His message to the team, this is it. Keep winning those games. And Diablo and Jefferson both went to the locker room in the second quarter. Big defensive men out for this team in the second half. And Rich Bisaccia said we just have to find other ways to make up for their absence, Mike.
Quentin Jefferson. NBC's new Tuesday comedy, Grand Crew, has critics raving. It's endearing and hilarious. So it's the premiere of Grand Crew Tuesday on NBC. Cincinnati shining bright on this Saturday night as the playoffs begin. This cool night, just frigid cold. Be single digits in Buffalo, and a lot of pushing and shoving going on here, but finally it's all done. Well, you know, it's been a tumultuous year for the Raiders. Their head coach John Gruden resigned in October after offensive emails from his personal account were leaked, part of the investigation into the Washington football team. A month later, Henry Ruggs, the receiver, released after being charged with DUI in a fatal car crash. And 1 week later, the other 2020 first-round pick, Damon Arnett, the corner, was released after a disturbing video surfaced of him making death threats while holding a firearm. There's so much that happened in this season. There were several executives in the Raiders organization who were let go before training camp even started, injuries as usual, and through it all, somehow these guys have found a way. And a lot of the credit goes to the coaches in place, including Rich Bisaccia, the interim head coach. Beautiful look at Cincinnati. Tonight's aerial coverage brought to you by Geico. Off we go to the fourth quarter. Bengals haven't won a playoff game in 31 years. They're 15 minutes away, leading by 10. Mike Tirico, Drew Brees, Catherine Tappan, Terry McCauley with you. Huge play for the Raiders in field goal range in a two-score game. Third and goal at the Cincinnati 19. League's 88 best players set to face off on the Pro Bowl field in Las Vegas. So catch the 2022 Pro Bowl presented by Verizon Sunday, February 6th, 3 Eastern. Buy your tickets today at ProBowl.com or watch the excitement on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Deportes. Jamar Chase, Max Crosby, a couple of the guys who are Pro Bowl selections. NBC's Wildcard Playoff is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. By Verizon, the official 5G network of the NFL. By Geico, save even more when you bundle home and car insurance. And by Toyota, let's go places. Last playoff win for each team pictured there, including 1990 AFC wildcard game. As we said, been a long time. It's been dry in the playoff desert for these teams, among a few others. 0-2 AFC Championship, last win for the Raiders. Dolphins, 2000 AFC wildcard. They've lost their last 4. Our friends up in Detroit, 9 straight losses. Breeze handed one of them, too, to Stafford and the Lions in a high-scoring game at the Dome. But then you get to Cincinnati. It's the end of the road. 1990 AFC wildcard game, played in January of 1991. And they have heard about that a lot. This is the first time in that 8-game postseason losing streak that the Bengals have scored more than 20 points in a playoff game. Tune in February 13th for the biggest moment of the year, the Pepsi Super Bowl 56 halftime show featuring Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar. We look forward to Super Bowl 56 from SoFi on NBC. Have a chance at the 2-minute warning in Cincinnati, whose playoff drought is going to end. One drive to decide it. Bengals kicking to the Raiders, up 7, trying to end their 31-year drought. Ian Eagle, Charles Davis are up in Buffalo. They've got the Patriots and the Bills on CBS, Eagles, Bucks on Fox at 1 Eastern tomorrow. Then the Niners and the Cowboys on CBS and Nickelodeon. And then 8:15 Eastern, Al, Chris, and Michelle of the Steelers and the Chiefs on NBC, streaming on Peacock. And on Monday night, Steve Levy and the guys will have the Cardinals and the Rams at SoFi, where everybody's trying to get to for Super Bowl 56 on ESPN. But the Bengals move on. Joe Burrow's won his first playoff game. And Cincinnati's a playoff winner for the first time since 1991. Unbelievable job done by Rich Bisaccia and this Raiders coaching staff and players with the adversity we've detailed, with uncertain futures going forward, but great respect earned within this league. But the kitty cats have arrived. 66,277. Largest crowd in the history of Paul Brown Stadium was here to see it. A few 100,000 more will tell you they were here when the Bengals ended the drought. The Raiders have been knocked out. The Bengals advance 26-19. Catherine Tappan said it. Text messages weren't invented the last time the Bengals won a playoff game. There are millions of texts flying in the Cincinnati area. Bengals beat the Raiders, and Catherine Tappan standing by with the quarterback, Joe Burrow.
Joe, congratulations on the victory, but also the first playoff win in 31 years for Cincinnati. Can you talk about and characterize what you're feeling right now in this moment?
Well, it's a great win for us, for the city, for the organization, but we expected this, so it's not going to be a big celebration like it was when we won the division. We took care of business, on to the next round.
Speaking of taking care of business, that's exactly what your defense did on that final drive. You knew what the Raiders are capable of late in games. What were you thinking when you were watching that?
Just make a play. Somebody make a play. We didn't get it done on offense in that fourth quarter. We put points on the board. We weren't able to punch it in. And then that last drive, we just wanted to take some time off, but defense really stepped up.
Joe, given what you went through last season with the injury and the offseason to try and rehab to get back on the field, can you put into perspective at this point what your personal journey has meant?
No, it's been a long road. A lot of people helped me through it. I got a great support system that really enabled me to come back full strength, and I'm feeling great now. So that's in the past. We're moving on.
Congratulations, Joe. Thanks so much.
Catherine, thank you. There's a Joe Cool about him, isn't there? Love Could Be Scary and Wolf Like Me, starring Isla Fisher and Josh Gad. That's on Peacock. Plus, get to know the legendary 49ers quarterback, Joe Montana, Cool Under Pressure. Stream both now only on Peacock, and tomorrow night you can stream the AFC Wildcard Playoff live on NBC and Peacock with coverage beginning 7:30 Eastern Time, peacocktv.com to sign up. And Drew and I will look ahead to the Kansas City-Pittsburgh game at Arrowhead on Sunday night right after this. The party has left Paul Brown Stadium, now in the streets of Cincinnati. The Bengals win by 7. As we said, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis have New England Buffalo from Orchard Park coming up, and Al, Chris, and Michelle of Pittsburgh, Kansas City tomorrow night. If Buffalo and KC, the home teams, win, then Cincinnati goes to Tennessee for the divisional playoff. One last sentence on this game.
Yeah, it was everything we saw from the Bengals during the season. It's Joe Burrow playing very calm and efficient. It's Jamar Chase making big plays, and that pass rush for the Bengals wreaking havoc.
Defensive line injury is going to be an issue for them going forward. Let's look forward to tomorrow night when Al, Chris, and Michelle have the Chiefs at home at Arrowhead against the Steelers.
Yeah, Kansas City handled them pretty well during the regular season. Patrick Mahomes was very efficient. They get Travis Kelce back, who they didn't have in that game, so I look for the Chiefs to make a lot of plays.
Could be Big Ben's final game. You're heading there with Rodney Harrison, Jack Collinsworth. Enjoy the game.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Great way to spend a birthday here.
That's right.
Great night for Cincinnati. The Raiders' season of overcoming could not overcome the momentum of the Bengals, who win a playoff game for the first time in 31 seasons. Final score 26-19. Coming up next, it's That's My Jam, and then later tonight, an all-new Saturday Night Live with the host, Ariana DeBose. Rob Hyland produced, Pierre Musa directed, with Drew Brees, Catherine Tappan, Terry McCauley, our entire team, Mike Tirico. Good night from Cincinnati. We're underway on the road to Super Bowl 56.